Most people assume they understand what's happening in someone's mind when emotions rise in a room. They look for anger, excitement, frustration, or urgency as signals of what comes next. But when a Sigma male enters that same moment, something feels different. While others react immediately, he pauses. While others speak louder, he becomes quieter. His stillness isn't confusion, it's calculation. And the unsettling part for everyone around him is that they can't tell what he's planning until it's already in motion. A calculating mind doesn't rush to prove itself. And that's exactly why it's so difficult to read. Instead of reacting emotionally, he studies the situation, the people, the tone of every interaction. Every silence becomes observation. Every word spoken around him becomes data. By the time others realize something has shifted, he has already reached a conclusion they never saw forming. That calm presence people mistake for indifference is actually intense awareness operating beneath the surface. If you want to recognize the subtle signals that reveal when a Sigma male is analyzing everything instead of reacting emotionally, stay until the end. And if you enjoy deep psychological breakdowns like this, make sure you subscribe to Silent Wise and comment the word calculate, so I know you're part of the ones who see what others miss. He pauses before reacting, giving himself time to observe instead of responding emotionally. He pauses before reacting. A brief silence, a still moment that most people overlook, but that changes everything. While others rush to answer, defend, or push their emotions into the open, he slows the moment down. His mind doesn't leap into reaction, it widens into observation. In that pause, he studies the tone of the voice in front of him, the posture of the person speaking, the tension hidden behind their words. That small delay gives him something most people never claim in intense situations: control. Because the person who reacts first often reveals the most, and the one who waits learns the most. As the conversation continues, people begin to feel that pause without fully understanding it. They expect an immediate answer, a defensive response, or at least some visible emotion. Instead, they get quiet attention. His eyes remain steady, his expression neutral, his breathing slow. That calm gap between stimulus and response forces the other person to keep talking, filling the silence with more information than they intended to share. What was meant to provoke him becomes an opportunity for him. Every second he waits sharpens his understanding of the situation, and by the time he finally responds, he's no longer reacting, he's choosing. This habit changes the entire power dynamic of a conversation. Emotional reactions surrender control to the moment, but his pause places him above it. Others become predictable because they reveal their impulses immediately. He becomes unreadable because he reveals nothing until he has processed everything. That difference creates a psychological edge that few people recognize until it's too late. His silence is not hesitation, it is calculation. And when he finally speaks, his words land with the clarity of someone who has already seen the outcome unfolding. In that simple pause, he turns emotional chaos into strategic advantage. He watches people closely, analyzing behavior, tone, and inconsistencies. He watches people closely, not just what they say, but how they say it. The shift in tone when confidence fades, the hesitation before a certain word, the subtle tension in the shoulders when someone hides something behind a smile. While most people listen only to the surface of a conversation, he studies the layers beneath it. Words are only one signal. Behavior tells the real story. And as the room speaks, he quietly tracks every pattern unfolding in front of him. The longer the interaction continues, the clearer those patterns become. Someone praises loudly but avoids eye contact. Another speaks confidently yet constantly adjusts their posture. A third repeats the same explanation twice, slightly changing details each time. These inconsistencies don't escape him. Instead, they become pieces of a puzzle forming silently in his mind. He doesn't interrupt, accuse, or expose anyone in the moment. He simply lets the information accumulate. Because the more people talk, the more their behavior reveals. Most individuals believe they are managing impressions, but under observation they reveal far more than they control. That quiet analysis is what separates reaction from calculation. Emotional people respond to what they hear. He responds to what he notices. Tone, timing, body language, and contradictions create a clearer narrative than words alone. And once he sees the pattern, the entire interaction changes for him. He knows who is confident and who is performing, who is sincere and who is positioning themselves. By the time the conversation reaches its end, others feel as though they simply exchanged words. But he has already read the room like a map. What looked like casual listening was actually precise observation, and that awareness gives him a level of control others never realize he has gained. He asks precise questions that quietly reveal more than people intended to say. He asks precise questions, not many, just the right ones. While others talk endlessly to fill space, he waits until the moment is clear and then places a single question exactly where it matters. That question doesn't sound aggressive or confrontational. In fact, it often sounds simple, almost casual, but its precision cuts through the surface of the conversation. People answer quickly, believing they are explaining something small, unaware that the question was designed to expose the larger truth behind their words. A well-placed question reveals far more than a long speech ever could. As the conversation continues, the effect becomes stronger. The first answer opens the door to another small detail. A second question nudges the story forward. Soon the person speaking begins expanding their explanation, adding context, clarifying things they were never asked to clarify. They feel comfortable, even confident, believing they are guiding the narrative. But in reality, the direction of the conversation has already been set. Each answer they give builds a clearer picture of their motives, their assumptions, and the places where their story doesn't quite align. The room hears a normal exchange. He hears a pattern forming. What makes this approach powerful is that it avoids confrontation entirely. He doesn't accuse people of lying or challenge them directly. Instead, he lets their own words reveal the gaps. Precision replaces pressure. The more carefully he asks, the more freely people speak. And the more freely they speak, the more their true intentions become visible. By the end of the conversation, he understands the situation in a way few others do. A single well-timed question can redirect an entire discussion, expose hidden motives, and shift the balance of control without raising his voice once. That is the quiet advantage of a calculating mind. The right question changes everything. He stays emotionally neutral, preventing others from reading or influencing him. He stays emotionally neutral, calm face, steady voice, unmoved posture. In moments where people expect visible emotion, anger, excitement, frustration, he offers none of it. That neutrality becomes his shield. Most social dynamics rely on reading emotional cues to predict reactions and guide influence. But when those cues disappear, the usual methods stop working. Without visible signals, people can't tell whether they've impressed him, offended him, or triggered any reaction at all. And when someone can't read you, they can't control you. As conversations continue, others begin searching for something, any hint of what he's feeling. They watch his eyes, listen to the tone of his replies, analyze the timing of his responses. But the emotional landscape remains quiet. His reactions stay measured and controlled. That absence of emotional display creates uncertainty. People start adjusting their behavior around him, trying different approaches to see what moves the surface. Some become more cautious, others speak more carefully. The dynamic slowly shifts because the room is no longer steering him emotionally. Instead, everyone else is recalibrating themselves around his calm. This neutrality gives him a powerful advantage. While others reveal their thoughts through emotion, he gathers information without revealing his own position. Anger often exposes weakness. Excitement can expose intention. Frustration can expose pressure points. By removing these signals, he keeps his strategy hidden. The conversation continues, but the balance of awareness changes. Others are reacting while he is observing. Others are revealing while he is processing. What appears to be emotional distance is actually disciplined control. And in that controlled stillness, he remains the one person in the room whose next move cannot be predicted. He listens to everything but reveals very little about his own thoughts. He listens to everything. Every word, every pause, every shift in tone. But he reveals almost nothing about what he's thinking. While others speak freely about their opinions, plans, and emotions, he remains measured, controlled, and intentionally quiet. His attention stays sharp, his expression neutral, his responses minimal. People often mistake this silence for agreement, confusion, or even disinterest. But the truth is very different. His mind is actively processing everything being said, sorting useful information from noise, identifying patterns in behavior and intention. The more others reveal, the more clearly he sees the situation forming in front of him. As the conversation unfolds, people naturally try to pull him into it. They ask what he thinks, where he stands, whether he agrees. He answers carefully, offering just enough to keep the exchange moving, but never enough to expose his full position. A short response, a simple observation, sometimes just a nod. That restraint creates an unusual imbalance. While others speak openly and show their intentions, he stays protected behind quiet awareness. People begin filling the space with more explanation, more detail, more attempts to clarify themselves. In trying to understand him, they unknowingly reveal even more about themselves. This quiet imbalance becomes a strategic advantage. Conversations often turn into exchanges where both sides reveal their thinking. But he breaks that pattern. By listening deeply and speaking selectively, he learns far more about others than they learn about him. His thoughts stay private while the room exposes its dynamics piece by piece. By the time decisions need to be made, he already understands the landscape clearly. What appeared to be passive listening was actually controlled observation, and that ability to absorb information without exposing his own intentions is what keeps him several steps ahead in situations where others reveal too much too soon. He lets others talk longer than necessary, allowing their real intentions to surface. He lets people keep talking, longer than they planned, longer than the point requires. While most conversations are filled with interruptions, quick reactions, and constant back-and-forth exchanges, he removes himself from that rhythm. He doesn't rush to respond, doesn't cut people off, and doesn't hurry the conversation forward. Instead, he allows the silence after their words to stretch just a little longer than expected. That small gap makes people uncomfortable, and discomfort makes them keep speaking. They begin explaining more than they intended, clarifying points that were already clear, adding details that slowly reveal the real direction of their thoughts. As they continue, the shift becomes noticeable. At first, they believe they are simply elaborating on their ideas, but the longer they talk, the more the layers start to separate. Confidence turns into justification. Justification turns into over-explanation. Over-explanation turns into contradiction. They begin revealing what they truly want, what they're worried about, or what they're trying to hide. And all the while, he remains composed, attentive, and silent. He isn't pushing them toward exposure. He is simply giving them the space where exposure happens naturally. The room hears conversation. He hears intention. This quiet patience changes the entire balance of the interaction. The person speaking believes they are controlling the narrative because they hold the floor. In reality, the narrative is unfolding in a way they cannot manage. The longer someone talks, the harder it becomes to maintain a constructed version of themselves. Eventually, the truth slips through the edges of their own explanation. By the time they finish, they've revealed far more than they meant to share. And he hasn't forced a single word out of them. He only allowed time to do what pressure usually tries to accomplish. In that stillness, intentions surface, motives become visible, and he learns everything he needs to know. He adjusts his responses strategically rather than reacting impulsively. He adjusts his responses deliberately, not instantly, not emotionally. Every reply passes through a moment of calculation before it leaves his mouth. Where most people respond the second something triggers them, defending themselves, raising their voice, or trying to win the moment, he slows the process down. That pause allows him to see the entire interaction from a wider perspective. Instead of reacting to the emotion of the moment, he focuses on the outcome of the situation. His words become choices, not reactions. And that difference changes everything. As the conversation unfolds, others begin revealing their impulses. Someone becomes defensive too quickly. Another raises their voice when challenged. A third person tries to dominate the exchange with urgency or pressure. These emotional reactions expose their intentions immediately. Meanwhile, he stays measured, adjusting his responses depending on what the moment actually requires. Sometimes the best response is silence. Sometimes it's a short answer that redirects the focus. Sometimes it's a calm observation that slows the entire room down. Each response is chosen for effect, not emotion. While others respond from instinct, he responds from awareness. This strategic adjustment creates a powerful advantage. Emotional reactions are predictable. Strategic responses are not. People can easily manipulate someone who reacts impulsively because they know exactly what buttons to press. But when every response is thoughtful and controlled, the usual triggers stop working. His calm adaptability makes him difficult to read and even harder to influence. Others feel the difference without fully understanding it. They sense that the interaction isn't unfolding the way they expected. and by the time they realize why, he has already guided the conversation to a place that works in his favor. What appears to be restraint is actually control. He often remains silent after hearing something important, processing the information before acting. He hears something important, and he says nothing. No immediate reaction, no quick opinion, just silence. While most people feel the urge to respond instantly, he allows the moment to settle. That pause isn't hesitation, it's processing. Important information deserves space, and he understands that reacting too quickly often means reacting without understanding the full picture. So he listens, absorbs the meaning behind the words, and lets his mind connect the information with everything he already knows about the situation. As the silence stretches, others begin to notice it. They expect acknowledgement, agreement, or disagreement. Instead, they are met with quiet attention. That stillness creates tension because people are used to immediate feedback. Some start explaining themselves further, clarifying what they meant, or adding more details to support their point. Without asking a single question, he often receives even more information than was originally offered. What seemed like a simple statement slowly unfolds into a deeper explanation, and all he has done is give the moment enough time for the truth to reveal itself. This habit changes the way decisions form around him. By not reacting instantly, he prevents emotion from steering the outcome. He evaluates the significance of what he heard, measures its impact, and only then decides what action or response is appropriate. Others might treat the moment as just another exchange of words, but he treats it as data that deserves careful interpretation. When he finally responds, it comes with clarity because the reaction is no longer impulsive. It is informed. That quiet delay transforms information into understanding, and understanding into deliberate action. When a Sigma male appears quiet in a situation, it's rarely because he has nothing to say. More often, it's because he's studying everything before deciding how to move. While others react instantly, he observes. While others reveal their emotions, he collects information. That difference is what makes his presence feel so controlled and unpredictable at the same time. People expect emotion, but what they encounter instead is calculation, a mind that moves slowly, deliberately, and with purpose. If you enjoyed this deep breakdown of Sigma psychology, make sure you subscribe to Silent Wise for more insights into silent strength, strategic thinking, and the behaviors most people misunderstand. And tell me in the comments which sign stood out to you the most.